Well, since I'm running for the position of mayor, I'm opposed to it, and I think to say otherwise would be foolish. I don't think Alex City is ready for a city manager. I realize we have roughly a $50 million a year budget, but we have people in place to manage those funds along with the mayor. The right person in the mayor's chair that will lead the people and get them to do the job that they're hired to do, manage people, if you will. I think that would be a step in the right direction. And to me, doing what background I have looking at city manager positions, you're not going to find one, I don't think, an effective one for less than $120,000 a year, and that's double what the current mayor is making. Also, for a city our size, I've read countless articles where either politics pushes them out or they use a small town like Alex City as a resume builder, get a couple of years under their belt, and then they move on to a bigger city with a bigger salary. So I would say no, I'm not in favor of a city manager.
A city manager is a great idea. With the budget approaching $50 million, I think it's time that we have a professional, a trained professional to help manage those things. But my proposal has been, or will be, is that rather than going to a full-fledged city manager, there are other positions such as chief financial officer that could do similar operation of a city manager. Turning over the full responsibility of probably 80% of what the mayor is responsible for to a city manager might not be the thing to do now, but I think that process needs to begin. I think if we brought in a CFO, someone to handle, which is the biggest item, which is going to be the budget, someone who's familiar enough with government to deal with ordinance, someone who's familiar enough with the politics of it all, until we get that individual, which I know is going to cost the city dearly, but until we can get a qualified individual or train someone internally to fill that slot, I think the way to go will be a systematic step-by-step. Let's transfer over from a mayor-council form of government to a mayor/city manager/CFO type of government.
That's an idea that's got good prominence behind it. It needs to be researched. A city manager may not be exactly what we want. Might want a city administrator. I truly believe we need to look at it. It's a $50 million corporation that we need qualified people to run. In an election campaign, we don't always elect the most qualified person to do the job. And so for us to run a city of that caliber, I think we truly need to research that project, see how far we can go, if we can afford a city manager, and find ways to make that work.
I've always felt like if the mayor did his job, then we didn't need a city manager. But I'm not that familiar with what the city manager would do. How much power they'd have, would they be elected, would they be appointed, would you still have 5 council people? Would the mayor still have any powers, or what would the mayor be able to do? So I'm not that familiar with what a city manager. I would be interested in sitting down, talking to the city council, talking to the people, and I think, to me, if we had a city manager, I would think it ought to be voted on from the people and not just picked from some individual. And that's the way I feel about that, or even picked from the council. I think it's something that ought to be voted on, just like your mayor and your council. I'm not saying I'm opposed, to have one, and I'm not saying for it, but if I knew more about it, I could make a better decision.
For one thing about a city manager is that city manager change is a form of government. That's a legislative type act, okay? So that's not just something that cities just go and do. 18% of the cities in the state of Alabama have a city manager. That means 82% do not. Out of 18% that do have it, 50% of those also have the same problems with the city managers that a lot of cities have with their mayors or with their finance directors. So adding another $125,000 slot to our bottom line, to me, I don't think is necessary. Our budget is $48.6 million. Utilities alone of that is 28.6, which means that our government spending is only 20 million. We've got tremendous department heads. We've got a great finance director. We've got strong people that have been good stewards of our money. So I don't think that adding another slot of a city manager is necessary. I would, however, support a city administrator coming in. And the other thing about a city manager is the city manager does not answer to the people. The people's voice is gone when a city manager is in place. If you have a city administrator, which could play the same role but answer to the mayor, then the voice of the people is still intact. Because if the people aren't happy with something the administrator is doing, they can contact the mayor, and the mayor can stop that. So I think, for whatever reason, I'm not sure why the manager aspect of this thing's been thrown up. I think there are other ways to address it, but I don't see us adding $125,000 salary on a low end just to satisfy the needs or wants of a few people in Alex City.